The forest felt wrong long before the boy understood why. It wasn't silent there, it was always sound in the woods, but the sounds no longer fit together. Birds had gone quiet in uneven pockets, as if avoiding something unseen. The wind moved in short, uncertain bursts, stirring leaves, and then stopping altogether, like it was afraid of what it might reveal. The boy slowed his steps. Behind him, his father did the same. They stood on the narrow trail, carved into the cliffside, a path worn smooth by generations of feet. Below them, the sea was hidden by mist, but its presence was constant salt in the air, distant waves breathing against stone. The boy shifted the weight of the fish bundle across his shoulder, the familiar ache grounding him. His father raised a hand. "Stop." The boy obeyed instantly. He had learned young that hesitation in the wild could be costly. At first, there was only the wind and the distant sea. Then came the sound, a deep, steady crunch. Slow, heavy, rhythmic. The boy felt it in his chest more than he heard it. His father's jaw tightened, though his expression remained calm. He turned just enough to meet the boy's eyes. There was no fear there, only certainty. They were no longer alone. "Stay close," his father murmured. They moved carefully, each step measured, avoiding loose stones and brittle branches. The boy's hand hovered near his bow, though his fingers trembled despite his effort to still them. He had hunted since he was small, but this was different. This was not a deer or a boar. This was something that did not flee. The trees ahead thinned, opening into a shallow clearing, and there it was. The animal was larger than any bear the boy had ever seen, larger than the stories had prepared him for. Its dark fur was matted and rough, its back rising and falling as it fed, utterly at ease. The forest bent around it, branches pushed aside, ground torn and scarred. It stood directly between them and the path home. The boy's breath caught. His father did not move. They had made a mistake, the kind that only became obvious once it was too late. They had followed the trail too long, lingered too close to dusk, trusted familiarity over caution. The forest punished arrogance. The boy shifted his weight, hoosed slightly. The branch beneath his heels snapped. The sound cracked through the clearing like a thrown stone against glass. The animal froze. Its head lifted slowly. Time stretched thin. The boy's father reacted instantly. "Run," he said, not loudly, not in panic, but with a sharpness that cut through everything else. He shoved the boy sideways into the thick undergrowth, hard enough to knock the breath from his lungs. The boy stumbled, falling into thorns and ferns, his bow slipping from his grasp. "No," he tried to say, but the word died in his throat. His father was already moving. He stepped forward, drawing the animal's attention away, his posture steady, controlled. He had taught the boy this: how to face danger without provoking it, how to become the focus. The animal charged. The boy pressed himself into the dirt, heart hammering so loudly he was sure it would give him away. He squeezed his eyes shut, biting down on his sleeve to keep from crying out. He heard everything. The thunder of movement, the tearing of earth, the deep, furious sounds that vibrated through the ground itself. He did not open his eyes. He did not need to. When the sounds stopped, the silence felt heavier than before. The boy stayed where he was, muscles burning, lungs aching. He remembered the lessons. Predators lingered. They tested. They waited for mistakes. Minutes passed, then the wind shifted. The boy's eyes flew open. The scent hit him, instantly blood, fear, and himself. His own smell carried straight through the brush. A low rumble rolled through the ground. The animal had found him. He looked up. It stood only a few trees away, massive head lowered, eyes fixed on him with terrible focus. It did not rush. It did not roar. It knew it had already won. "The boy ran." He tore through the forest blindly, branches whipping his face, roots threatening to send him sprawling. His lungs burned, each breath a sharp, painful pull. He dropped his bow, tennis pack, then the knife at his belt when it caught on a vine. Behind him, the sound never faded. The forest opened suddenly, light spilling through the trees. Cliff. The boy skidded to a stop at the edge, stones scattering beneath his feet. The sea stretched far below, dark and endless. There was no path down, no ledge to cling to, only open air and jagged rock. He turned. The animal burst from the trees, closer than he expected, closer than seemed possible. There was no time left. Jump it. The wind ripped the breath from his chest as the world spun wildly. The cliff face rushed past, stones scraping his side, pain flaring hot and sharp. Then the water struck him with crushing force, driving the air from his lungs. Cold swallowed him whole. He sank, disoriented, limbs flailing as darkness pressed in from every side. Panic surged, threatening to take control. He forced himself to remember. Kick, reach, rise. His foot struck something solid. He pushed. Light shattered the surface above him. The boy burst into the air, gasping, coughing, waves dragging at him as he struggled to stay afloat. His body ached, every movement heavy and slow. He heard it then. Arroar. The animal stood atop the rocks above the water, pacing furiously, its presence dominating the shoreline. For a brief, fragile moment, the boy dared to believe the sea had saved him. Then the animal entered the water. It swam with terrifying ease, powerful limbs cutting through the waves, closing the distance far too quickly. The boy's strength faltered. He could not outswim it. Something shifted beneath him. At first, he thought it was the current. Then the water rolled upward, lifting him unnaturally, as if the sea itself were breathing in. A shadow passed, below vast, smooth, and impossibly large. The ocean erupted. Water surged skyward as something ancient broke the surface. Scales glistened briefly before vanishing again. The creature's form barely comprehensible, its presence overwhelming. It collided with the rocks where the animal struggled. The impact shook the cliffs. The boy floated, frozen, as the sea claimed what the forest had begun. There was no fury in the creature's movements, only inevitability, as if it were correcting an imbalance. Then it slipped back, beneath the waves. The water stilled. The boy swam until his arms refused to obey, until he collapsed onto a distant shore, shaking and alone. He returned to the camp at dawn without his father. No words could carry what he had seen. Years passed. The boy grew into a man. The story became a warning. 10, a legend. He painted it on cave walls of the forest, the cliff, the sea, and the guardian beneath the waves. He taught his children to respect the land, to listen when the world grew quiet. Most forgot. Some remembered. Thousands of years later, floodlights burned along the same coast. Steel platforms rose where trees once stood. Machines roared where birds once sang. Scientists and engineers moved with purpose, unaware of the old paintings hidden in caves above them. Far below, in the deep, something stirred. The sea does not forget, and it always remembers what once ruled it.